This punishment was exclusive to the German army. Any soldier who tried to desert would have heavy chains shackled to his legs with the other end driven deep into a massive boulder. His comrades left him there with nothing but a few rounds of ammo and some meager rations. His orders were to stay behind and hold off the Soviet troops. As the rest of the unit moved out, he grabbed his sniper rifle and started loading it, but by the time he was ready to take aim, his fellow soldiers had already vanished into the thick forest. Now, his biggest priority was breaking free from that chain. Panicked, he raised his rifle and fired a shot directly at the link. There was a loud blast, and he screamed in agonizing pain. The chain was too thick. The bullet hadn't even made a dent. He had to find another way. Rummaging through his bag, he found a pair of eyeglasses. Suddenly, an idea clicked. He carefully popped out both lenses with a small knife and pressed them together. Then, he snapped a twig from a nearby pine tree and scraped out some resin. He chewed the resin to soften it and smeared it around the edges of the lenses to seal them. Using a small hollow stick, he filled the gap between the lenses with water. Just like that, he'd built a makeshift magnifying glass. He placed some dry moss near the iron spike and focused the sun's rays onto it. Within moments, the moss began to smolder. He quickly gathered dry twigs to build up the fire. Once the twigs were blazing and the rock was scorching hot, he doused it with cold water. The sudden temperature shift caused the boulder to crack. He tried to yank the spike out, but it wouldn't budge. Still, he didn't give up. He repeated the process over and over. Bit by bit, more of the spike became visible. After some time, a large hole had formed in the rock. He was almost there. By afternoon, he was sitting by the rock eating canned rations when he suddenly heard the distant rumble of an engine. He immediately grabbed his sniper rifle. A Soviet military truck was passing by on the road. Luckily, they didn't spot him. He realized he couldn't afford to waste any more time. His supply of dry wood was nearly gone. If he didn't get out soon, he'd freeze in the cold and his food was running low. There was only 1 cup of water left in his bucket. This was his last shot. He poured the remaining water over the rock. He grabbed his tools and tried to pry the cracked stone apart, but the spike remained stuck. He scavenged the gunpowder from his remaining bullets, packed it into a metal tin, shoved it into the hole, and weighed it down with a stone. He placed the smoldering moss on top and dove behind a large boulder. A massive explosion went off, sending up a cloud of white smoke. He ran over to check, but the spike still hadn't come loose. Frustrated, he gave it a heavy kick, but it didn't move an inch. He hooked his rifle strap to a distant rock for leverage, hoisted a heavy stone with both hands, and slammed it down onto the spike. The sun went down, night fell, and he kept striking relentlessly. His hands were covered in blisters. Finally, summoning every last bit of strength, he felt the spike loosen. He gave it one final powerful heave and hurled it away.